back end adjusted to where I want it. And we're gonna see where we're at. This setting that I'm putting this car at was where it was when I originally first did the back end, and it was a little bit too tall because it was resting on the stop here. So being that these are clearanced, I went back to that setting. And putting this together can be quite challenging. I told you having this tool is invaluable. You're also really going to need to have a floor jack. And what I've done here is I've put the jack underneath the spring plate and I've raised it up and then tightened this. It'll really take tension off of this because it's tight. You've got a lot of tension with this plate. There's no washer in here, so you got metal on metal while you're turning this. The other thing you got to be careful about doing is you've got to make sure the placement of your axle is right, because if this gets on this side, the spring plate, you're gonna have a real difficult time getting this in. So you can see here on the bottom, I've got to get that on the other side. So I've lowered the jack so this plate is flexible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it with my foot like this, bend it, and then I'm going to get this in here. Now I have to have two hands to do it. I've got to adjust this so I can get it in here, but you've got to get that spring plate around your axle. So that's what we'll be doing next, and then I'll put everything back together, then move on to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to see if I can just set the phone down here and see if you guys can get a view of this. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'm not sure. Yeah. We got to get this in here, then we've got to jack up the spring plate some more. A little bit of a science to this, and you know, you may have a better way out there if you've done this before and you have a better way to do it. Definitely open for all suggestions. Well, and there we go. Slipped off, and that's because it's not under the edge. But this is real time. What you get here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this, put a little more tension on the plate here, get this higher up. It will get to a point where there's so much tension on here, when you go to tighten this, it will actually lift the car off the ground. So keep that in mind. Lower the jack, see where we're at. All right, we're getting closer. Thing is, this has to be high enough because your axle can only move down so low. So we're pretty much at the bottom of where it is. So you got to get this spring plate high enough so that you can maneuver the axle around it. All right, now we're actually off the jack stand. Hey, you know what? And I just thought of another idea here. That may be a better plan. You know, this car is the first Volkswagen I've ever raised, so it's definitely a learning curve for me. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and bolt on the cap while I have this up here, and that's going to help keep everything pushed in. So I don't know what you guys are seeing, but we've got to install this next to get this nice and tight up in here. Then we'll go forward. So I'll give you another update.